You're very welcome. My name is Michael Ryan, for those of you that don't know me. And this morning we're really going to be looking at foundations, working with the hips and with the legs and with these anchoring parts of ourselves. I was watching Richard Attenborough, his new documentary on Netflix, which is a beautiful piece and really one that I'd recommend to watch. Really, he calls it his witness statement. You know, he's been around for 93 years, working in the wild for most of that, and seeing the incredible changes that have happened. You know, all of the shrinking of our natural world. And he makes this point that, you know, this invitation that we have, or this opportunity that we have to come back into balance, is not so much about saving the world, but really about saving ourselves. And that in a sense it's a journey home that, you know, 10,000 years ago, the first man that lived as part of the bigger ecosystem. There was no other option. And that's something that we as modern people have lost. And the invitation and the need at this point is to come back to that. And it's very similar to what we do through our practice. You think about it, we get into, you know, this kind of a space, and we begin to move our body, and we begin to feel, and we begin to notice, and we begin to tune in to what's there for us. And our bodies are a very particular way in which we are woven through this tapestry of life on earth. This is how we are manifest in these physical bodies. And yet so much of modern society is the cerebral. It's the thoughts, it's the ideas, it's, you know, it's slightly disconnected from the body. And yet there's a whole wisdom and a whole language that the body has for us. There's a whole level of intuition that the body has, a deeper knowing that we're being invited to attune to. And we do this through our practice. We awaken to these qualities through our practice. And as a society and as a community and as a world, this is somewhere where all of us are being asked to go to in terms of how will begin to live in a way that is more balanced, is more attuned to the bigger picture, to the wildness, to the nature, the naturalness within us. So I hope this practice will serve as a way in which we can go into the body, into the feeling, into the sensation, that we can notice, and we can, at moments through our practice, tune into something that feels deeper, that feels stiller, that feels grounded, that feels present, deeply present. Okay, we're going to come to stand to begin. Okay, so we're going to do a little work with our feet first. First thing to do is just to look down at the feet, line them up so they're both parallel, hip distance apart, and then just move your toes. Just spread your toes, move them around, feel them. So I say this a lot in terms of the feet. The feet are one of the most vital and important parts of the body in terms of the body being able to function efficiently. That the feet are the foundation, so everything above them is affected by them. And if they're not doing their job, and for most of us they're not really working effectively, and they'll be the cause of issues with the knees, with the hips, with the ankles, and into the spine, into the lower back. So waking the feet up and getting them to work the way they're meant to work. And they're designed somewhat like a spring. So we're designed to have a lightness when the tissue, particularly of the arch of the foot and the ball of the foot, that front part of the foot really begins to wake up and have that dexterity and mobility that gets restricted when we spend too much time in shoes. And of course, one of the big issues with us in general is that we overwork the front of the body and we're disconnected and disengaged from the back of the body. And when that happens, the back of the body, instead of actually being the big support structure for us, becomes a dead weight that we're carrying around. And you'll notice that with the heaviness in the heels as you walk. You know, a lot of us, we're heavy in our heels. So there's different practices, and we'll go through a few of them quickly. Spread the toes. And then as you do that, grip with your toes and release, and grip and release, and grip and release, and grip and release. And it's just beginning to wake the feet up. Just beginning to wake the feet up. Every toe has a purpose, has a job to do. And if they're not doing their job, somewhere else is compensating, and that's promoting an imbalance that we get stuck into. It's a catch-22, where certain parts again are overworking, other parts are disconnecting, and we're then into this whole paradigm of suffering with our bodies that we could actually alleviate. Spread the toes, grip. Now keep the toes down, and do feel free to go to a wall or something to support you if you want. Just lift the heels up, and I want you to slow down the lowering. So you really have to get the muscles to work as you slow down. So you bring the heels down really slowly, really slowly, really slowly, really slowly. Perfect. Yeah, great. And just feeling, where is it working? Where is it maybe aching a little? These are muscles waking up. You don't have to force or strain. Just to wake them up can be enough. And remember this, as much as you can, particularly when you get home, take your shoes off, move around your socks or your slippers, get the feet to be able to spread and articulate and move. They just get calcified, rigidified, if that's a word. So up and then slowly down, up and slowly down. Perfect, perfect. Okay, second thing we're going to work with the feet. I'm going to come on to the top of the right foot. So initially as I come onto it, I'm on the kind of the toenail is there, I'm on the toes. What I try to do is get some of the weight forward toward this part of the foot, so it's not all accumulated up there, and that then tends to overwork the knuckles of the toes. So a few ways to do this. One is, again, you can go use a support. I got to bend the standing leg. And I sit the bum back, and I can bring the hands down onto the thighs, the base of the thighs. And then I can pulse a little, and I'm just putting pressure on the top of the foot. Now, you'll feel that all the way through the top of the foot and right up through the shin. So it's waking up the connection, the foot, the ankle, and the leg, all beginning to get a stretch. You can roll to the little toe side, you can roll back to the big toe side. Breathe. This is quite uncomfortable. There's a lot of tightness in these spaces. So it's great to just wake them up. Wake them up. A lot of people, particularly as they get older, talk about a lack or a loss of sensation in these areas. And again, this is calcification. This is the movement of energy and information that goes into these far parts of our body. You just can't get through. Things get stuck and blocked. So you're letting blood get back into these spaces. That's it. So just do one, even doing one foot, and then just feeling into the 2 feet and noticing. And you begin to notice differences, subtle differences in the feeling of the two. Second side. Again, trying not to have all the weight in the toes. You're trying to bring it forward. You might need to go quite low, and that's strong on that other leg. It's got to do a lot of work. Breathe. You can roll to the big toe and to the little toe. Nice. A couple more breaths. Great. And then release, and you can shake it out a little. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. Now again, if you want to go to a wall, that's support for any part of this, feel free to do that. I'm going to cross my right ankle over my left thigh. Now you'll see the foot and the ankle are slightly past the back leg. So actually it's the end of my shin that I'm resting on the leg. And now I'm going to begin to sit back. As I sit back, the glutes go first. The glutes go first. Yeah? So I'm going to show you again. Have a look. This is what I'm not doing. Tightening the belly and dropping the bum down. This is how a lot of us tend to move unconsciously. What I do is I take my glutes back so I maintain an arch in my lumbar and lengthen my belly. And I go to whatever feels accessible. Now the weight in the bottom foot is forward, the toes are gripping just like we did before. If you can have a hand on the top of that lifted knee, push the knee up into the hand. Just build a little bit of resistance there. And literally you're trying to stick your butt out. You're trying to stick it out. So that sets your thigh bone backwards in your hip socket. This is how your hips will find some freedom. Breathe, and strength and stability. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1, and then we'll release. Second side. Again, you're pivoting from the groins. The glutes go back. not the belly shortening. So again, the big tendency and habit is this front part's going to want to drop the moment you begin to move in the pelvis. And it wants to go faster, so you've got to pay attention to that. Perfect. Okay, great. Push the knee up into the hand. Breathe into whatever tension you might be feeling. And breathe 3. Breathe 2. And then breathe 1. Perfect. Okay, first side again. Sit the bum back. Take your time. Okay, so maybe you got a hand on the wall. If you have it there, perfect, keep it there. If you can have a hand on the knee, great. And if you can have a hand on the heel, the back of the heel, that's also great. So you can choose. You can have one or you can have the two, whatever works for you. You push the knee up into the sky. You press the heel back toward the hip. So you're really working that lifted leg. Now, again, you're sticking your bum out. So you're trying to have a sense of the sitting bones are moving back and even widening apart. A lot of us don't have much dexterity or feeling in the pelvis because we just don't access it. We don't pay attention to it unless it's in pain. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1. We'll release again. Second side. Take your time. You might find one side tighter, more uncomfortable than the other. It doesn't matter how far you go. Whatever is accessible, it's about playing the edge a little and just accessing those places that are a little stuck. Ooh. And trying not to fall over. Push the knee up, press the heel back. You got it. Breathe into the tension you're feeling. Breathe 5. Breathe 4. 3. 2. 1. Beautiful. Let it go. Shake the two legs out a little. Okay. Very simple. Same kind of bend in the knees as we've done before. The groins go back. So you can see I keep my belly long, keep my gaze forward, and I bring the hands to the base of the thighs, just above the knees. And initially I can rest there. I can let the hands be heavy. Notice where the weight is in the feet. For most of us, it'll have already dropped back to the heels. This is just habit. This is why we do this practice. To see know the habits that are and aren't supporting us and maybe to refine them. Bring the weight forward to the toes, grip at the toes. Could you hover your heels a little bit off the floor? Or even could you pulse them up and slowly down a little? Okay. Let the heels come down, keep the weight forward in the feet. Now we're not going to move anything. If you have your fingers on the outside of the legs and your thumbs on the inside, now without moving, push your legs apart, press them apart. And I want you to feel it in the glutes, that widening in the pelvis again. And at the same time, can you lose the weight in the hands? So lifting up, so the hands are light on the legs, they're not pushing down. But sustain the pressing apart and then try that pulsing up. And down again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice work. Okay. Now, you've got an arch in the lower back. You can check that out. We're going to keep that arch in the lower back. In fact, let's keep one hand there, even just the back of the hand. And then we begin to stretch the legs straighter. Stretching the legs, bending the knees. Just pulsing here, so you're not changing the lower back. You're trying to keep the belly long, gaze stays forward, just pulsing, stretching straight, bending, stretching straight. Breathe 3, keep the toes active. Breathe 2, and 1. Perfect, and we'll come all the way up. Standing, close your eyes, forget about any technique. Relax your belly, notice your breath. Just tune into the breath. If you can, I want you to breathe through your nose. Perfect. And we begin to open the eyes. So in this kind of realigning process in terms of the legs and the hips, and these again are support. So the feet are support, the legs where the bones are held in terms of the tissue. So you think about it, no two bones in the body touch each other. They're all floating in the sea of softer tissue. Bone is just a slightly denser form of tissue. And what will happen is when certain parts are overworking, they'll pull the bones into particular positions. So most of us, again, we overwork the front. So the bones, a lot of the bones are pulled too far forward, which will wear these joints out much more quickly. So the quads, these front thigh muscles, these tend to overwork. They pull your femur bones forward, and that hardens the hip flexors, it hardens the groins, and it disconnects the glutes. So the glutes are this big engine in the back of the body. For a lot of us, a lot of the time, they're really not working efficiently. So let's do a little work with opening up the quads. Okay, so again, you might want to put a hand on a wall. We lift a leg, hold the top of the shin, slide the hand down, see can we hook the foot. Now, if you find this is too much, you could go to a chair and you could put your foot on the back of a chair and you're going to get that stretch. Okay, if you can hold the foot, and if you can hold over the toes, right over the back of the foot, do that. Okay, and when you get here, whichever version you're doing, just pause. You'll notice there's some sense of stretch going on. It might be intense, it might be not so intense. Just give it time, let the muscle catch up. And then when you feel it's appropriate, I want you to stretch down through that knee. So that'll intensify the work a little bit more. And just breathe with what you're doing. And breathe for 3. For 2. And then for 1. Beautiful. So we let that side go. And then second side. Again, you work out what version works for you. And as you hold the foot, just pause. Give the body time. You know, ultimately, as much as we can move fastly and swiftly, and so many of us in terms of our lives are asked to do that a lot of the time, deadlines and responsibilities, if we can build in practices that are about sensitivity, slowing down, you know, giving ourselves time. It's a process or a practice of being kind to ourselves. Like, this practice is uncomfortable, it's difficult, but we can make it happen in such a way that it actually really supports the nervous system. Like, it really feeds us, nurtures us. Stretch down through the knee. And breathe for 3. For 2. And then for 1. Okay, perfect. We're going to go back to the first side again. Again, you choose what version you want to use. Again, we just pause for a moment. Okay, now focus on the standing leg, standing foot. Bring the weight forward in the foot. Groins go back. So you sit the bum back. You're going into that kind of squatting position. Okay, keeping that, we're going to slowly pivot. Everything's moving as one piece. Nothing's moving faster. Standing leg stays bent. Heart gaze forward. Maybe you got a hand on a wall. And breathe, and then lift or kick the foot you're holding back. Kick it up and back, kick it up and back, kick it up and back. Breathe 5. Heart forward, gaze forward. If you've got a free arm, you could extend it forward. 4, 3, 2, 1. And we release. Shake the legs out a little. Second side. We go to the foot. And breathe, just take your time. Standing leg, weight forward in the foot. We bend the knee, we sit the bum back. So that's taking the thigh bone back in the hips, engaging the glutes. Maintaining that as you pivot. Keeping that sense of length in the belly, liftedness in the heart and the chest. Push the foot back, kick it back against the hand. Again, if you have a free arm, you might take it forward or have it on the wall. Breathe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. 2 hands on the thighs, close the eyes. Breathe. Perfect. Perfect. Open the eyes. Let's take the right leg back, bring the back knee down. Take the left foot slightly forward, so the ankle a little bit further forward than the knee. Very simple. We let the hips sink forward. And you just go to the first place in which you feel tension. So the moment you connect into some tension there, just take it easy. Just breathe, pause, give it time. The body wants to unravel, but sometimes we just need to be careful and skillful and considerate in asking it to open up. Just breathe and settle. You might find you're able to sink a little further, a little further, a little further. Inhaling and exhaling. Breathe. Take your time. Now, if the back knee is sensitive, you can pat it, you can stick something underneath it, but also you can work the back foot. If you press the top of the back foot down, the toenails down into the floor, that'll distribute the weight in the back foot. Breathe for 3. For 2. And then we'll come back. You got it, great. Okay, second side. One leg back, one leg forward. Take your time, no rush. We begin to let the front knee and hips sink forward. And breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. Stay connected or aware of your breath. And breathe for 3, 2, and then for 1. Okay, so we're going to come back, take the 2 legs back, and then come forward onto our hands and our knees. Okay. And on your hands and knees, close the eyes and let things begin to move a little. Let the hips sway, let the shoulders shrug. Just move in a way that's really simple, easy, fluid, comfortable. Feel, notice the body. All those different parts of the body, parts of the team, the integrated system. So there's a sense of the movement as fluid, one piece moving, and yet you'll also have a sense of those different parts, maybe some that might feel a little constricted or uncomfortable. Remember the head and neck as part of the body, as part of the movement. Couple more breaths here. Nice, okay. Let's pause, let's come back up onto the knees. Okay, again for a few moments, close the eyes, no technique, as little work as you can. Notice your breath. Breathing through the nose. And then opening the eyes, take the arms forward, and then wrap the arms around you. Give yourself a hug. So you've got the hands on the ribs as opposed to the arms. And as you get the hands on the ribs, breathe into the hands. So the hands can squeeze in and give the ribs something to work against. Pressing the ribs out against the hands. And just stay with the feeling. Think of the ribs as a ring or a cylinder or a balloon. Whole thing, every part moving as one piece. At the same time as you're doing this, could you shrug a little in the shoulders with the idea of getting longer between the hips and the shoulders? Perfect. And then release. Now take the hands to the sides of the ribs. On the ribs now, on the lower ribs, thumbs are at the back, fingers are forward. Close the eyes again. And just same thing, you're breathing into the hands. Breathing into the hands. Now as you fill the ribs up and the hands are pressing in, can you lift the ribs up? You might lift one side and then the other side, one side and then the other side, just getting longer. Ribs are still filling up. We're going to arc a little to one side. All the way, you'll feel it down through the hip, maybe through the side of the leg. Breathe into the tightness, wherever it is, wherever you notice most of it, breathe into it. Come back through center, fill the ribs up, keep them lifted, elevated. We'll go to the second side. Stay with the breath. Perfect, come back through center, fill it all up again, lift it up again, and go back to the first side. Now, keeping all of that full, so let's say we're all leaning to the right, so you might adjust if you're not doing that, lean to the right. The right hand stretches toward the floor. Now obviously the floor isn't there. We're going to see, can we take the left foot forward and then lean over more to bring the right hand to the floor. Initially just the fingers, and then really opening the top side of the ribs a little bit more, and the whole of the hand can come down. Breathe into everything you're connecting to. Now the gaze is forward rather than up. Gaze is forward, it's a neutral position. That left hand is going to come all the way over the crown of the head, so the fingers are on the floor side of your head, yeah? Tilting down toward the ear. I want you to press your head down into the fingers toward the floor and just build a little resistance. If your thumb can be toward the back of the head, can you also then press the head back? So you're pressing it down and back, and the top elbow stretching over toward the right. Breathe into what you're meeting. Open up those top ribs. Breathe 3. Breathe 2. Breathe 1. And then we'll release that and release it. Perfect. Okay. Take the front leg back. Hold the ribs. Swell, lift, and fill the ribs. We're arcing over to the left. Hand extends toward the floor. We know we need to take the right foot forward first. Right foot comes forward, then we can lean down onto the fingertips, maybe all the way down onto the hand. Big stretch for that top side of the ribs. Breathe into the tightness. Free hand comes all the way over the crown of the head, so the fingers are down toward the floor, pressing the head down and pressing it back, opening the front of the throat, top elbow stretching toward the left. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release that and come back onto hands and knees, all the way back to hands and knees. Close the eyes and just let everything move, sway, move in a way that feels comfortable and fluid. Inhaling and exhaling. Shrug a little through the shoulders. Perfect. Okay, so from here we're going to come onto our backs. Take your time. Now when you get onto your back, get comfortable, bring the soles of the feet, let the two knees drop apart. If this catches, if it's sore, you're either padding underneath the legs or underneath the thighs with pillows to support them so they can rest on that and the groins can relax, or you're separating the feet and letting the two knees drop in together. Either of those versions. Okay, soles of the feet together, two knees apart, arms either side, space between the arms and the body, palms are facing upward toward the sky, close the eyes. Come to the breath. You're breathing through your nose. Now the breath is really slow and comfortable. And I want you to breathe so deeply that you fill the ribs up, but you're not forcing in any way. And the inhalation and the exhalation are one movement. So there's no pausing, there's no jerkiness. It's one continuous action. Inhale, exhale, inhale. But all of it is slow, uniformed, and steady. Stay with the breath. So don't change your breath, but let the two knees come back up. Bring the feet to hip distance. Just keep the legs there, but continue to take these long, deep, steady breaths. Stay with the breath, no matter what else might be going on, whatever you're noticing or feeling or thinking, let the breath be the focal point. So often when we're doing things that are challenging or things that we're not used to doing, we just meet resistance, and usually it'll have a very compelling narrative, an intoxicating narrative, thought process. So to just stay with the breath. Keep breathing. Stay with it. Okay. Let the breath come back to its natural rhythm. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Drop the two legs over to the right. Sole of the left foot on the floor. Left knee more or less pointing up toward the sky. Very simple. Left knee begins to tilt slowly away from your body. Don't change your foot. Your left foot, it stays evenly on the floor. Sole of the foot on the floor. Now as you connect into any tightness in that left hip, I want you to bring the focus there, bring the breath there. Imagine you're breathing into the tightness. It's not about getting to the strongest holding or tightness that you can feel, but the first layers of it. And breathe. And breathe for 3, 2. Now let that leg stay there, but relax. Let the knee relax. And then extend that left foot over to the right. Stretch it over to the right. And stretch out through the toes. Take the two arms wider on the floor. Breathe. Imagine that left foot moving towards your right hand for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then bring that leg all the way back. All the way back. 2 feet on the floor. 2 knees bent. Okay, right ankle over the left thigh. We bring the legs over to the left, right foot on the floor. Again, the top knee just tilting away. Quite often the hips will feel different on the two sides. So you might notice that. Breathe into whatever tension you're connecting to or aware of. Breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. Such simple ways of moving into our bodies, connecting to what we're carrying around with us, parts of us that are usually hidden. Stay with your breath. Okay, let that leg, that top leg, right leg relax, and then extend the right foot over. Stretch it over to the left. And again, the idea of the right foot moving up toward the left hand. And breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then for 1. Bringing it all the way back. Perfect, perfect. Okay, let's extend the two legs out. Feet a little wider than the hips. We're going to bring the left hand onto the lower belly and the right hand to the center of the chest. Now keep the hands there, but let the elbows be on the floor. So wherever the hands end up, perfect. Close the eyes. And just tune into the hands. Tune into the sensation beneath the hands. Very simple. No work here. Front of the throat open. Forehead relaxed. Jaw relaxed. A very simple way of looking at this is that we're holding ourselves. We are held. pulse of the body, a gentle rise and fall. Now take a few deeper breaths and move your fingers and toes. And then stretch the arms over the head, stretch the fingers and toes away from each other. And then bend the knees one at a time. And we're going to roll over to the right side. And as you get there, use the hand or the arm as a pillow. Just make a pillow. Get as comfortable as you can. And then come back to your breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to come up and we're going to sit. And sit whatever way works for you. Sit on your heels, sit in cross legs, whatever way works for you. Close the eyes. Notice your breath. So as you notice your breath, breathing through your nose, can we go back to that slow, continuous, deep breath? Let your eyelids be heavy. Let your jaw relax. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. So our practice is a coming home to ourselves. And it's a way in which we turn toward ourselves. We take time to feel, to notice, to see, to experience, so that we can move into the world, we can be in the world, more aware of ourselves, more connected to ourselves, more in tune with something deeper within ourselves. That this has always been the premise of the practice, that everything you need is already there. Nothing needs to be added and nothing needs to be taken away. Nothing needs to be fixed and nothing is broken. You are full, complete and worthy just as you are. Each of us is. To this truth resonating within us, to allowing it to move within us, to owning it. And we bow our heads. Namaste. So thank you very much for joining me. And Wednesdays and Sundays for classes here on YouTube. Of course, the classes are available to do at any point after that. We have a month of meditations coming up for November, so feel free to go onto my website, michaelryanyoga.com, and you can sign up to them. That's a daily meditation practice. We do them live at 8 a.m. via Zoom, but then the recording is available as well, so you can do it at your own time. We have a couple of days coming up in October and November, which are both happening in Greystones in County Wicklow. Obviously the numbers are limited, but it's an opportunity. There's spaces left in the November, but it's an opportunity just for us to come together and do some of these practices that support this greater sense of well-being. So I hope you have a great day, and I wish you the very best. Thank you. Blessings.